Hey there. As a parent, keeping your kids safe while they explore the outdoors is, well, it's pretty much a full-time job, right? But there's this one tiny, really sneaky hidden menace that can take a totally fun family hike and turn it into a massively stressful ordeal. Today, in this explainer, we're putting together a complete parent's medical guide to safe tick removal and prevention. Think of this as your personal, science-backed consult. I'm going to walk you through the exact steps you need to manage tick bites safely and effectively, without all the panic.
So, picture this. You've just found a tick latched onto your kid's skin. First things first, take a deep breath. Seriously, do not panic. It's incredibly common to feel that instant spike of anxiety, maybe even a little revulsion, right? I mean, that's just a completely normal parental instinct kicking in. But the big question is, do you actually know what to do next? Well, stick with me, because by the time we wrap up, you'll be 100% equipped to handle this calmly and correctly.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll uncover the hidden outdoor threat. Then, we'll go through the exact safe tick removal steps. After that, we'll cover the warning signs you absolutely need to watch for. And finally, we'll talk about protecting your family moving forward. Okay, let's dive right in with part 1, the hidden outdoor threat, and really understanding our enemy here.
First off, there's a huge misconception we've got to clear up right away. Ticks? They aren't actually insects. Nope, they're tiny, wingless, 8-legged parasites that are basically cousins to spiders. They love hanging out in wooded areas, tall grass, shrubs, just kind of waiting to hitch a ride on anyone walking by. And here's the really tricky part. You or your kid will probably never even feel the bite. They just silently bury their heads into feed. Over the course of a few hours or even days, a tick that starts out completely flat, literally the size of a poppy seed, can swell up into this rounded little balloon, completely engorged with blood. Gross, I know, but absolutely crucial to understand.
Because these guys are so ridiculously tiny, you really have to know exactly where to look. They don't just attach anywhere, you know? They actively hunt for warm, moist spots to hide. So after the kids have been running through the tall grass, you've got to do a thorough check. Pay special attention to the scalp and neck, and definitely check down in the groin area. Look behind the knees, peek right inside the belly button, check in and around the ears, and don't forget high up in the armpits. It's essentially a high-stakes game of hide and seek, but it's one you absolutely need to win.
All right, moving on to part 2, which is the extraction protocol. These are your safe tick removal steps.
Now, before we get into what you should do, we really need to talk about what not to do. There are so many wild parenting myths out there about getting rid of ticks. Have you ever been told to slather a tick in petroleum jelly, like Vaseline, or maybe pour kerosene on it, or no joke, hold a lit match to it so it backs out? Please, whatever you do, do not do this. These old wives' tales are actually super dangerous. If you smother or burn a tick, it panics. And when it panics, it can literally regurgitate its germ-filled saliva right back into your child's bloodstream. Yikes, right? The only medically approved, foolproof method is using a good old pair of fine-tip tweezers. So, here's your official 4-step extraction protocol. First, just gently clean the area with rubbing alcohol or some warm, soapy water. Second, take those fine-tipped tweezers and pinch the tick as insanely close to the skin surface as you possibly can. You want to grab it right by its head, not its belly. Third, pull straight up with steady, even pressure. This is key. Do not twist it, do not jerk it, and whatever you do, don't crush the body. Twisting is a surefire way to break off the mouth parts and leave them stuck in the skin. And finally, step 4, just wash the bite area and your own hands really well with soap and water. Boom, done.
But wait, here's a brilliant little pro tip that almost everyone forgets in the heat of the moment. Once you've got that tick off, grab your phone and snap a clear photo of it, or pop it into a small sealed container. Why? Because identifying the type of tick, like is it a deer tick or a dog tick, and seeing if it's flat or engorged gives your doctor some massive clues. It tells us roughly how long the little guy was attached and, more importantly, what specific diseases it might be carrying. It's an absolute game changer for a medical provider.
Let's transition into part 3, warning signs to watch for, or your post-bite monitoring phase. You really need to think of a tick bite as a bit of a journey. It's going to require your attention for a little while. In those first few hours, your main job was just figuring out if it was feeding. But once it's out, over the next few days, you're going to keep an eye on the actual bite site, looking for any weird blistering, pain, or big-time swelling. And it doesn't stop there. For a few weeks after the bite, you've got to stay on high alert, just generally watching your child's health for any rashes or flu-like symptoms that might pop up.
So what exactly are we looking for? Here are your major medical red flags.
You definitely want to call your pediatrician right away if you know that tick was attached for several hours and looked super rounded and full. Also, ring the doctor if you spot a rash. We're talking about that classic bullseye rash, which is famous for Lyme disease, or even tiny purplish spots under the skin called petechia, which could point to Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And watch out for sudden flu-like symptoms in the weeks following the bite. Stuff like an unexplained fever, chills, really bad muscle aches, or swollen lymph nodes. These are classic indicators that a tick-borne illness might be brewing, and you'll want to get it checked out ASAP.
And that brings us to our final section, Part 4, protecting your family with solid prevention tactics. Honestly, the absolute crucial takeaway here is that proactive prevention is your family's best armor. So let's run through a quick checklist before your next big outdoor adventure. First up, spray down with an EPA-approved bug spray. Look for ingredients like DEET or picaridin. Second, think about treating your clothes and gear with a 0.5% permethrin spray. It adds an amazing extra layer of defense. Third, manage your environment. When you're hiking, try to avoid wading through that super long grass, and at home, keep your yard trimmed shorter than 5 inches. Fourth, don't forget the fur babies. Dogs are notorious for carrying ticks right into your living room, so check them constantly and talk to your vet about tick meds. And finally, make those daily tick checks a strict, non-negotiable habit after any time spent out in nature.
As we start to wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a super reassuring thought, straight from the medical experts over at the Cleveland Clinic. They say, if you find a tick on yourself, don't panic. Remove it carefully and contact your provider if you have any questions. It really is just that straightforward. You absolutely don't need to be afraid of the outdoors. You just need to be prepared, stay informed, and know how to act safely when the time comes. Which brings me to one last, very practical question for you to chew on today. Is your family's first aid kit actually prepared for tick season right this second? Like, do you have fine-tip tweezers, rubbing alcohol, and a tiny clear container packed in your hiking bag or sitting in your bathroom cabinet? If the answer is no, do yourself a massive favor and take 10 minutes today to get equipped. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and go enjoy the great outdoors with total confidence.